This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. Well, last week we got a lot of work done on the hardtop, and this week we're going to progress it even more. So we'll get over to the lot and show you that. But first, to let you know, at the end of the video, we're going to answer a few more viewer questions.
All right, we'll see you over at the lot. Now that we've got this edge on here, before we can do any fairing and such, we got to get the two acrylic skylight windows cut out. So we're going to get started on that today. We're cutting those first two edges, then we're going to double check the measurements from what we cut in case the amount of kerf is an issue. So we have very precise numbers where we want these. Okay, one down. And if all measurements were precise, this should be 23, which it is, 35. All good. Another offcut. Now, we're going to extend this one out and make another box over here that's exactly the same as this one. These two pieces end up being exactly the same size here. And so now we can order two pieces of acrylic that are going to go in here. But the acrylic's going to be wider than these holes are. So our next thing is we're going to have to route this back about 3/4 of an inch, or maybe 20-some millimeters. So that'll come back, but only go down halfway down this board. So that's the next step is routing this all out. Well, Brian and I have started routing out the edges here, so we're putting our little lip in here and getting some thickened epoxy in here, and this is where the acrylic will land, and we're leaving a little gap all the way around so that there's room for expansion in the acrylic later. Got this all routed out, and couple little bobbles here and there, but we're putting thickened epoxy in here anyway, so we'll fix up that as we go and get it nice and smooth. Seal it all up so that no moisture can get in there, and then it'll be ready for putting our acrylic in. Speaking of which, we've got to go order that. I found a marine acrylic specialist company and online, and when I looked up locations, it turns out there's a location about 20 minutes from here. So we're gonna go over there and see what they have for a UV resistant or such acrylics, and we want one that lets sunlight blocks sunlight going through from the top, but lets us see through the other direction. So we got a lot of things we want. We'll see what they have. We're here early this morning because this week's going to be, starting today and through Saturday, is going to be between 95 and 97 degrees Fahrenheit and Celsius. And so we're doing early starts, and we just can't make noise. So what we've done, we prepped all the noisy stuff yesterday. And today we're just starting out with some epoxy work so we can be pretty quiet. Don't want to wake the neighbors up too early. And what we're doing right now is we've already cored all this. We're just sealing it up, fixing a couple little baubles that we made when we were coring. And so we've just got a very thick layer of thickened epoxy. Thick layer of a thick. You know what I meant. The epoxy is really just to fill little depressions and holes and stuff. Get it smooth. We're going to be painting this with an epoxy paint, so it'll get further sealed when we do that. The epoxy paint is the primers. The actual paint is not epoxy. That will be for UV protection at that point. But that's the way Alexiel does it, and that's the way we like it. That's a nice coating on all the exposed foam. We'll let that set up, give a little sanding, but we're on to the next phase of this, which is we're going to put a cove right now around our rain guard here, and then we're going to tab over around the whole thing so we can seal this wood up. All right, we're going to put our cove on here now, all the way around. And as soon as I get this started, Brian's going to start mixing up thin, and we're going to put on our tabs. Yesterday I sanded this whole thing, and this morning I wiped it down, so we're ready to apply. Here, I'll apply. You can go mix thin. All right, so I got all the peel ply off this morning. That's my start of the day. Always get if we have peel ply, and that makes this a nice surface here. And this is permanently bonded now. What we haven't done yet is these corners. We're going to do these 4 corners this morning, and we'll fix those up, and then clean these edges up that we thickened, epoxy coated, and that's probably all we'll do on this today. But come Friday, we probably, either that or Saturday, we're going to start the fairing process of getting this done. And we got to fair and then paint both sides, and we can get it up there permanently at that point. So, but it's coming along. So we're tabbing these mounts on this morning. So I'm just putting some thickened epoxy in here. While Brian's over there fixing up my coves for me. We ran a little low for this one, so Brian's mixing a little bit more. But it's cool enough still. This is very early in the morning right now, and you know it's going to be blazing hot today. It's still really cool right now, at least for another maybe 2 hours. So our plan for today is to glass these little corners in, glass the corners of the actual hardtop in, and after that, we're going to probably be done with glassing because it's going to get too hot for epoxy work. Now, there's some other things we can do. We can always sand, and we've got lots more room sanding to go on the Salon ceiling there. So we'll probably get to a little of that. But this afternoon, we're going to go on a little field trip over to a marine plastics company because we need to order the acrylic 2 windows that go on this hardtop, you know, up above here, and those have to be extremely UV resistant because the sun's just going to be pounding on those things. So we got to find out what the best option is for that. And this is a marine plastics place with acrylics and all kinds of different materials. So we'll ask them, you know, what the best options are. And we also have to get them to make this front window here, and we want this window to be an opening thing, so it's going to have a window that flips up like this. So that's going to be all custom work, so we're going to talk to them about that as well. But here comes Brian with my epoxy. Keep everything in the shade, it'll set up too quickly. Oh, looks good. More check on this one over here. It's going to be under quite a bit of pressure at times. The wind's howling through here and it's trying to lift this hardtop. It's going to be pulling on these. So these have to be well glassed down to make sure that they don't lift up. Now this post here is just stuck in, not currently bolted in it. I was just doing some measuring, so but it doesn't hurt to sit there. Kind of just going around robin here, each following the other guy. So now he's rolling what I put on there. And our final stage, fuel play. Okay, so that job is done. We're going to move downstairs and get back to the hardtop corners. There we go. All four corners. So now we're glassed all the way around. Next up is a bunch of measuring, because we need to have some numbers to take with us when we go to the marine plastics company. So we're gonna do some measuring, make sure we got everything accurate. Well, with our epoxy work done, starting to get warmer, as much as we don't want to, back to sanding. This morning we were getting started with a quiet job because it's early, since these are about 100-degree days for this week. Just having a heat wave. Like I think 38 degrees Celsius, something like that. The days are starting early for us because we're getting here much earlier than we normally do. And we don't want to make a lot of noise because we do have a couple of neighbors. And so we're trying to be kind. That means we can't run our sanders and compressors and that kind of stuff this early. What we can do is epoxy work, which is quiet. So we're starting out this morning by, we're going to fair these 4 support legs for the hardtop so we can get it up there permanently. And so we're about to do that, but what I'm doing is creating these little straws that I'm putting inside the holes so we don't get fairing compound down inside those 4 holes we've already drilled in each one of these. So we're going to get started here. You can see why we have to do fairing here, because between the glass, it's much deeper there where the white is compared to where the glass is. So we got to get that smoothed out. But we don't need a lot of fairing compound beyond that. We don't know how much fairing compound we're going to need for each of these legs. So we mixed more than we think we're going to need. And we have another leg ready to go in case I have extra. Our first mix of 300 got us to big one and a little more than a half of this one. So we figured that 400 should get us the rest of these 2 and the short one. So hopefully that'll be enough. While Brian mixes, I make straws. Don't really need them now because we decided not to take it all the way down to the bottom because that part gets bonded into the holders there. And we'll still paint it, so it'll be protected, but we don't want to put any thicker layer down there because they're a pretty snug fit. We just finished sanding the hardtop, both sides, top and bottom. And we got this edge for the acrylic all very nice, ready to take the acrylic. And can't go anymore because it's already really hot and we can't mix epoxy at this point. So we prepped it. The only thing we haven't done is cleaned it yet, and we don't want to do that until right before we're going to fair it. So tomorrow morning, while it's still cool, we're going to clean this and then fair it on this side. We can't do the other side, obviously, because we can't flip it over yet. But come Monday, we'll fair the other side. And then Tuesday, we can sand both sides and get it painted pretty quickly here. So maybe by Wednesday of next week, this might have all of its paint on. And we can also sand up those legs that we faired and get those painted as well next week. So by the end of next week, the goal will be to mount this hardtop up there permanently. Permanently meaning until we take it to the water. And then we'll take it down, get it to the water, put it right back up again. The reason we want it up now is because we've got work to do up there, and that's in the heat, right in the sun, and it's very hard to put a shade tent way up on top of the boat. So what we're going to do is get this hardtop up there, and then we can work on the line handling area, which is going to be a lot of work there, and we'll do all that in the shade underneath of this. And eventually we'll be mounting the steering console for the wheel and getting all that steering stuff worked. So we have to work on that up there. We have to sand and fair everything up there. So all of that can be done in the shade of this hardtop. So that's why we want this up there as soon as possible. And by the end of next week, this will be on top of that boat. Our job of the morning is to fair one side of this hardtop. And we're going to start with the top. Actually the bottom side. Seeing that this is very, very flat already, we see no reason to put a huge quantity of fairing compound down. And there's hardly anything to fill here. So we're going to go with a very thin coat, save some weight, and also some sanding. Brian and I are going to work on this. We're going to have Jeff here today as well, since it's Saturday. And for Jeff, we're going to have him work on the legs, because we put a layer of fairing compound on here yesterday. And these are going to have to get sanded. So we're going to put him to work sanding these things and getting them ready to go. Oh, well, Jeff's downstairs sanding the legs for the hardtop. Brian and I are back up on the Salon ceiling here sanding. And it's coming along really nice. Like from here all the way over there, it's all ready to paint. But I did find a kind of ridge here that we can't sand out. And it's, I don't know if you'll be able to see, it's right here. There's a low spot. That's why it's so rough, because I didn't bother to sand it. There's a low spot through here. So we're going to fill that section right here right now. I've already cleaned it, and Brian's mixing some. So we're going to do another little fill through that little section. Other than that, most of it is coming out pretty nicely. Well, we banished Jeff to the front bow area of the boat because he's making dust even with the vacuum system, and we didn't want his dust to land on our freshly faired hardtop way over on the other side of the boat. He's working on the second one, and then we've got these two still to go here.
So we did get a lot of work done on the hardtop this week, but we still have a bit more to go. But next week we're going to get that thing permanently mounted to the boat.
Yeah, we'll be done with that, finally. But we wanted to answer a few more questions from the viewers, because some of these, it's easier to answer with some images than just a simple answer in our comments. So we'll take a few here and see what we can answer.
Our first question or comment says, you seem to be making plans that cross. You didn't want a bigger hole for the line because you wanted shade. Now you're talking about a fairly large acrylic panel in that same roof. That will reduce the shade even more. We understand your confusion, but let's see if we can clear that up with a few images.
Right, so here, let's take a look at that hardtop. Here you can see what we mean by cutting back the hardtop so that the stay didn't go through a hole. That would expose the helm position to direct sunlight. In contrast, we're adding two skylights to allow the helmsman and line handler to look up at the sails. But these aren't open holes where direct sunlight goes through. They'll have UV protected acrylic panels done in a smoke color to cut down on sunlight and give us some shade. And if we feel that there is still too much sunlight getting through, we can also do a pull across screen as well. So, what do we have now?
Next, we have three related questions. First one being, if the boat's rigging goes through the hole in the hardtop, how can the hardtop be movable?
Well, the simple answer is that the only times we need to take the hardtop down is when we're out on rivers. And when we're going into a rivers network, we're going to be taking the mast down before we even enter. And then when we reach a bridge where we need to take the hardtop down, we'll temporarily take that down. Because we don't want that down permanently, because we want to have shade most of the time. But the mast, that'll be down.
Okay, next one. You're concerned about the roof height under bridges, but how are you taking the mast down to get under said bridge?
We'll be using a professional place that does mast stepping. And before we enter the rivers, we go to that facility, they take the mast down, and we enter the rivers, so that isn't an issue.
Okay. Next one, you mentioned traveling around the world and 2 times you'll have to take the top down. So what are you doing with the mast in those 2 situations?
Fortunately, our mast is a 2-part mast. It was done that way because it had to come in a shipping container from South Africa, and a shipping container is only 40 feet long, so they made a mast that bonds together, bolts, and we can unbolt that. So once the mast stepping place takes the mast down, we unbolt the mast. It comes in 2 sections. When we put it up on the cabin top, they're short enough that they don't hang out over the bow or the stern, so it makes it quite easy. So we'll have 2 pieces of mast and the boom sitting up there for when we're traveling rivers.
Okay, and then one more, also about the hole in the hardtop. For the line going through the hardtop, won't rainwater drip down?
A little bit. It's just a small hole. But just remember that many sailboat helm areas, the line handling, the steering, everything, don't have a bimini above it. And the rain and salt water and everything just comes down on the whole thing. Because this equipment is made to be out in the weather. And so in our case, we have a hardtop over there, and we're going to have a tiny little hole where just a little bit of water might drip down, but it really won't hurt a thing.
Okay, on to a new subject. Is the air conditioning unit reversible so that it can be used as a heater?
Yeah, our AC units are reversible. So when we're above the Arctic Circle, we won't be wanting them to be heaters because it's cold up there. But when we're down somewhere near the equator and it's blazing hot, of course we want to cool the air, so we'll reverse that and have cooling.
Yep, we're going to be comfortable both ways.
All right, so we have one more question.
Last question is, how readily are you going to be able to pass your stays? Ross from Life on the Hulls has a boat with very narrow decks. The stays make those decks even narrower. His mast has a rake to it, forcing the stays in question aft. If the mast were vertical, he'd have more room.
Okay, wow, this is a deep answer here. We noticed this problem when I was originally 3D modeling and designing this boat. And the problem is, of course, is that the upper stay comes down at an angle that you can get past, but the lower stay is a much steeper angle. Here, I'll show you a picture. And when you have that steeper angle, the problem there is you're going to have to basically do the limbo to get underneath of that stay, and that's not very comfortable. So we worked on this with the designers over at Schoenig and having figured out the issue. And fortunately for us, we aren't the only boat with this issue, and there have already been solutions for this. And the solution we're going with is that we have 2 chain plate connections, one for the uppers and one for the lowers. The upper stay, like again, I'll show you in this image right here, you can see that the upper stay is on the outboard side of the deck, and the inboard side has the lower stay connected. That creates a nice gap between the 2 that we can walk through without too much trouble. And the picture you're looking at right now is a balanced catamaran in this very setup. But ours is going to be very similar to what you're seeing in that image. All right, well, that's the quick questions that we're going to answer this week. But thank you all for watching this video and sticking around for the questions. We do appreciate you stopping by.
And thank you to our patrons listed here. We appreciate you so much. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
And next week, come rain or shine, and there won't be any rain, it's hot, we're going to get that Bimini hardtop permanently mounted up on the boat. So we'll show you that next week. See you then.
Bye.